everybody, I hope you're having a fantastic day. If you are new here, my name is Melissa and I'm a second grade teacher from Michigan. So recently on my Instagram stories, I put up a little question box with just like a chance for a Q&A about teaching, life, whatever. And I got some really good teaching related questions, and I haven't done like a sit down answer questions video in a little while. So I wanted to do that today and just answer some of those questions that you guys sent in. If you don't follow me on Instagram, that's where I posted the question box. That's also the place where I am most active. So make sure to check that out. If you don't already, I am made for second grade over there as well. So I'm just gonna hop right in with the first question, which is, how is this school year going for you? First of all, thanks for asking, thanks for caring. This school year has been all right. It's definitely been difficult, and part of that is like that I have the biggest class I've ever had, and it's only 22 kids. So I know that that is so lucky, like to be at a small school with small class sizes, but having 22 kids is just more than I've ever had before. And so I can tell the difference. There's more to manage just overall. There's more differentiation that I need to do. There's more paperwork to do. There's more report cards. There's more conferences. There's more behaviors. There's more gaps between strengths and weaknesses, and kids excelling in lots of different areas. And so there's just more going on all the time than what I have been used to, which I just can't imagine how some people do classes of like 30. Like, I know that I would be capable and able to do it, but truly, like small class sizes are one of the biggest blessings ever. So that's been kind of just the biggest thing this year, is I just feel like there's so much going on all the time, and just with a bigger class than I'm used to, honestly, it just feels noisier, it feels more chaotic, feels more busy, and sometimes that stresses me out a little bit. So that's kind of just been my biggest challenge, is that there's just more than I'm used to in lots of ways. But with that being said, like there's also so many more relationships that I've built, and there's so many more like happy good moments and like positive student interactions as well. And like it's just like a bigger class family, and really my class does mesh pretty well with one another this year. So I do just have a lot of kids who love coming to school. During conferences, I had so many kind parents telling me that like they just love seeing the growth their child has made this year, and love like hearing their stories from their day, and just are having a great year. So that's been something that's going really well, is just that community aspect. The kids are really loving it, and so that's a positive for sure. That kind of segues into my next question, which is, how was having your student teacher? So if you don't know, I had a student teacher this year. Her name is Jordan. She is fabulous. She is now one of my very, very good friends. We just went out for dinner tonight, actually, together. So I still keep in touch with her. She comes in to visit sometimes, and she was just wonderful. I don't really feel like qualified enough to show someone else how to teach, being that I've only taught for 6 years, but honestly, like I'm not a brand new teacher anymore. I just am not. And so when I kind of had the opportunity to mentor her, everything just kind of fell into place, and it felt like a really good fit and a really good chance to kind of dip my toes into that bigger mentorship role. So she was in a different placement in my building last year, so I already got to know her because she pushed into my classroom because she was student teaching with our SPED teacher. And so I already knew her really well, and we kind of had like a good relationship. And so when the opportunity and the conversation just came up that, you know, she might like to return in the fall to do her gen ed placement, I was super excited. And yeah, it just all fell into place. It all worked out, and we just had so much fun together. And it was so fun, like seeing her perspective on things. Cause like, even though, you know, I'm a pretty recent graduate as well, like there are still new things coming out in education all the time. So it's just like so fun to see the ideas that she had, and just really have like somebody to just bounce ideas off of. And even like in those chaotic moments of school, like just look at each other and be like, did that really just happen? And just like having someone to reflect with every day. It was so fun, and I wish I could still have her full-time all the time, but I know that she's gonna be great in whatever job she ends up in, and I would love if it could be like within my district, or even better, like within my school. But yeah, she's just fabulous, and it was a great experience. I keep joking and telling her that I don't know if I'll ever be able to have another student teacher, because she's like one of my bestie gals now, and I just don't think that that's going to happen all the time. And it was just a really unique, special placement. And yeah, she's just the best. The next question is, what is your favorite subject to teach? So I got my bachelor's from my college in elementary education with a focus in English language arts. So I just kind of always assumed that English language arts would be my favorite thing to teach. It was always what I excelled at in school. I always really liked my reading and writing classes. But surprisingly, for teaching, I actually love to teach math. I think it is so fun. I don't know if I would think that if I was teaching upper L, but with student teaching in 3rd grade and now teaching this is my 6th year in 2nd grade, I just love helping kids build those like number concepts and that number sense, and teaching them how to break numbers apart, how to add, how to subtract, how to read picture graphs and bar graphs, like how to tell time. All of that is just so fun to me, and I feel like it's the math that is stuff that they are going to use all the time. And also I love to break it down into like math stations and have my kids rotate and pull small groups during math. And I don't know, I just really like teaching math, and I never thought that I would, but it is absolutely my favorite thing and my favorite part of the day, and I love to do it first thing in the morning while their brains are nice and awake and they're not tired out and they haven't eaten lunch yet and have that like afternoon slump. So yeah, math first thing in the morning is like my very favorite. The next question I got is, would you ever want to change grade levels? So as of right now, I do not really want to switch grade levels. I'm sure there are lots of grade levels I could be happy in, and I'm sure I would like teaching like 3rd grade, possibly 4th grade, possibly 1st grade. I'm not really like feeling the K or the 5, but you know, there's good and bad in every grade. But I just really do feel like made for 2nd grade, because I just feel like it is the perfect sweet spot where they are starting to gain that independence. When they come in, they are still pretty little, but they know how to use the bathroom, tie their shoes, organize their stuff, like for the most part. And that's just what I really like, is that I'm helping them build more of that independent work stamina and not really teaching those basic skills. I also feel like in 2nd grade, they still think you're like amazing and they just love school and they want to please you. And they're still like very affectionate and just like they're my hype people. Another thing that I kind of see myself maybe doing someday is doing like a reading interventionist or like gifted and talented or something like that to do with literacy. I got my master's from the American College of Education, and I got it in literacy. So that's just kind of something that I really like. And if I ever imagine myself transitioning out of the classroom, I feel like it would be to that kind of role where I'm pulling those small groups all day and either helping kids like catch up to where they need to be, or possibly like pushing them beyond, or maybe a little bit of both. I think that's what I would really like to do if I were to leave like grade levels in general. But right now I am so super happy in 2nd grade, and I am like so lucky that I have never had to change classrooms, buildings, grade levels, districts. Like I have just been smooth sailing, and that's been so nice. So I have a few more questions to answer, but I wanted to pause and thank today's sponsor of our video, which is Skillshare. So I talked about Skillshare last month as well, and I have still been loving it. If you saw my video in December, you know that I kind of talked about the graphic design courses that Skillshare offers and how I was really enjoying those. So you maybe have heard about those. You've also potentially heard about like photography classes or illustration classes, or, you know, other creative things that you can do on Skillshare. But there are also a lot of career-driven things as well. Obviously, today we live in a time where traditional jobs are not always right for certain people, and obviously I'm a teacher that is more of a traditional job, but what I love to do is I love to be able to supplement my income. And there's a lot of teachers who are taking up side hustles, as they like to call them, and mine personally is both social media and also like teachers pay teachers. So I find courses on Skillshare to be really valuable. They have some in social media marketing, so learning how to build an audience and create a platform and and get your engagement higher and all that kind of stuff. So those have been really interesting for me to check out and learn about and just kind of help me spruce up my socials. And also I have continued looking at those graphic design courses because I am continuing to sell and upload on Teachers Pay Teachers. At first I was really intimidated to kind of start my side hustle because I thought, well, what if nobody buys anything? But then I realized I might as well try it. So once I've been creating and posting these resources, it has just been a super easy passive income that even if it's just paying for my Starbucks for the month, it's something that's not coming out of my savings and is just a little extra spending cash. So really no goal is too small to accomplish, and if you decide that you want to try Skillshare, it can definitely set you up to reach some of those career goals that you might have. So a couple of classes that I wish I had when I was first starting out in that situation where I kind of had that negative self-talk. One is called Creative Confidence and Silencing Your Inner Critic. And then another favorite of mine was Diversify Your Income and Earn Passive Income. Both of those classes were super interesting, and they kind of taught me that I'm my own biggest critic and that doing these simple steps and kind of front loading all that work is a great way to just continue to make a little extra income off of whatever products I post. So I highly recommend both of those classes if you are interested in learning how to be your own boss or start a side hustle. Because I am partnering with Skillshare, they are giving my audience a really great opportunity, which is a month free of Skillshare if you click on the link down in the description. So that means that you can check out these classes and more and just kind of explore all of the different things Skillshare has to offer. So that link is only going to work for the first 1,000 people. So if this is something that interests you, go ahead and click it right away, get signed up, and then you can start exploring. The next question is classroom management tips, especially when it comes to like side conversations and blurting. I personally feel like in this kind of post-COVID education world, we're seeing a lot of blurting and like talking, and I don't know exactly what's, causing it. I think there's a lot of things. Like, I think that's not the only thing to blame, but I do think like these kids who were kind of like isolated for a while, like they crave that human interaction and they crave those friendships that kind of had to be put on hold for a lot of them. And also like just wearing the mask, I feel like we had to talk louder and we were used to our voices being mumbled. And so now I feel like that masks are mostly gone for all students. Like sometimes I just feel like the kids are screaming at all times. So I do definitely think that this is something I've had to manage a lot this year, more so than normal, because like I said, I have a bigger class than I've ever had. And I wish that I had like the perfect solution and textbook answer for this, but truly I've had to try so many things. So what I have done is I've really tried to hit hard on that positive reinforcement. So in my school, we do PBIS, which I know there's a lot of mixed opinions about, but regardless, that's what we are doing right now. So we have some like reward tickets that we can give the kids, and we pick like students of the week. And so I really try to focus on that positive behavior. I do a lot of active moving in my classroom. We don't sit in our seats all day. We are able to up and move around. I've taught my kids how to pick independent work spots that are wise for them. Granted, they are 7 and 8 years old, so they do not always do that. So sometimes I have to guide them into choosing a better spot for them to independently work. But I do try to kind of provide that choice when possible and provide those different settings so that they're not just like in one spot all day. I also try to allow plenty of time for them to talk purposefully. So we share in a circle time, and we have that time where they can just kind of share good news. We have turn-in talks sometimes. I do lots of like call and response, and I do some like repeat after me. So that way they're still using their voice. Another thing I've kind of noticed is for my really chatty classes that when I am doing my quiet signals, like the clapping patterns that we typically, grew up with, they don't really work. To do quiet signals for my class, I typically have to engage both their body and their voice. So a lot of times I'll say class, class, they say yes, yes. Or one that I found that works really well is like, ch, 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 and then they repeat it back, and you can kind of mix up the pattern on that. Sometimes like songs have really helped, like if we can just sing a song as we're doing something like transitioning, or like counting or whatever. But also, I'm gonna be completely honest, like sometimes it comes down to like, this is the time that we need to be quiet. I'm setting a timer. If you are talking during this time, then here's a consequence. Um, I it's hard because I always feel like that's not necessarily like my teaching philosophy, but at times you're going to have to do what works. And so at times you might just have to put your foot down and be like, we are not talking right now. And if we are talking and if our whole class is talking, we will need to stop what we're doing, do it over, redirect, and we're going to keep doing it until we do it right. And that's just kind of the reality of it. So hopefully those positive things kind of work for you, but if not, I'm kind of the opinion of like, don't be afraid to sometimes just put your foot down, because you are the queen or king in your classroom, and there has to be that level of respect and, community. But also at the end of the day, you need to teach. And if their talking is preventing you from doing that, you might have to really lay down the law in whatever that looks like for you. Another question I received was about student teaching. So somebody said they're student teaching soon. They're looking for some tips and tricks. And first of all, congratulations. It is a huge step. It is really exciting. It can be nerve-wracking, but I truly hope that you have a wonderful experience. I think my student teaching was fabulous. I'm just going to give you like 3 main tips, because I could go on for a long time about this, but it's been a while since I've been a student teacher. So I would say my number one thing is to ask questions. There is no shame in asking when you do not know. And one thing I remember that my mentor teacher actually passed on to my current boss when I was in the interview process was that she greatly appreciated that when I did not know something, I asked. Instead of just trying to like fake it till I make it, I would ask questions and say, hey, I don't really know the best way to do this, or I don't really think I learned this way, and I kind of need a mini lesson to teach me before I teach them. And so that was something that even during my first year of teaching, my boss complimented me on, is just asking questions and not being afraid to kind of be vulnerable and say that I don't know, because you're not expected to know everything at that time. And it's really the time where you're supposed to learn. So make sure to ask questions. I would say my second piece of advice is get involved as much as you can. Obviously, you still want to keep a good work and life balance, because student teaching truly is like work. It's not very much school anymore. If you're able to go to those extra events, or, meet and greet with some of the families, or attend staff parties if there are any, and just kind of make yourself part of that school community, the more that you can do that, the better experience you'll have, and also you'll make a lot more connections. It's great networking, and can be beneficial when you're interviewing in the future. The third thing I would say, and this is kind of looking back on my own experience, is I think it's super important to come in and have that professional front right away. So you want to dress the part, you want to show up on time, you want to be prepared with all of your lessons, and even in your interactions with the students. I think it's sometimes hard to remember, especially like when you're student teaching, is that you're not there to be like the fun, cool friend. Like, you're there to learn how to run the classroom. And so sometimes that's going to mean being a little bit more professional and maybe a little more stern than what you'd like. Obviously, you can still have fun and you still need to build those relationships, but just make sure that you are, showing professionalism in all of the areas, whether it be with the coworkers, with the principals, with your supervisors, or with your students. All right, I've officially been talking for quite some time, so I think it is time to wrap this video up. Once again, thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and partnering with me to give you guys free access. Remember, it's for 1 month. The first 1,000 people, you can find it in the description. Also in the description, you will find all of my other links, including my Teachers Pay Teachers, my Instagram, my Amazon storefront, classroom wish list. All of that kind of stuff will be linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, for sending in questions, and I will see you soon.